welcome back to Talking Chaos. This is the Condor, and as always, I am with my
Warlock
cohort,
Fred.
my gang member, my first mate, my skipper. But although, speaking of skippers, you may have noticed that we've skipped publishing episodes for a couple weeks. That is entirely my fault. I had a moment, sort of a depressive fallout. The bottom fell out of my mind, basically, and my brain fell to my ass. It's an astute observation of what happens. But I owe you guys a sincere apology. We at Talking Chaos did pride ourselves on putting content out twice a week. Whether we turns out that we go back to like once a week or something changes in the scheduling, we are going to try to make it our point to bring reliable episodes to you on an available schedule that is continuous. Hopefully these depressive fallouts are not going to cause any more chaos in publishing. With that in we will be doing an episode today on mental health.
And as always, we'd like to thank our patrons for making this happen. This podcast would not be possible without the support of our patrons.
Yes, and this will be the first episode that is trimmed for the public. If you'd like to check out our full bush, go to patreon.com/talkingchaos. Part of the reason why we picked mental health for today's episode is because I am a bit of an ostrich sometimes. I have this really terrible habit of when I hit the wall of conflict, or like I know that I need to do something that I'm responsible for, I'll just run away. It's probably not the best way to deal with inner turmoil.
Inner turmoil, external turmoil. Like, I mean, let's be fair. You ghosted my ass.
I kind of pulled a Tom DeLonge during the Blink-182 days, and I just stopped taking his phone calls for like 2 weeks. So yeah, that was awesome. I flew the coop. The Condor was out. So we're gonna talk about mental health. Fred, do you ever have moments where you're just like, screw everybody, like fuck this, I don't want to talk to anybody, I don't want to do my job, I don't want to do dick?
I mean, okay, so I do have those moments. However, unfortunately, with the military and AWOL and things like that, you know, I'd like to avoid being in jail. So
the brick.
Yeah. Like, I'd like to avoid jail and whatnot. So, you know,
Court-martial. Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, so getting out of bed is like a requirement for me. Like, I do have and actually it's funny, I was actually discussing this not too long ago, but with somebody else, but like, so I have those moments of glum and like, you know, gloom and doom and whatever, but like, I've realized that for me at least, it's a small episode versus like for some people there's the large,
small?
Like, small, like maybe a day or two, couple hours. Like, it's nothing that
something you can measure under 50 hours.
Yes, more likely than not. Yes.
Sometimes less than a half a day.
Yes. Like, I mean, shit, sometimes it can be like 15 minutes of like, fuck, all this shit's going on. I can't like it's literally all like, for the best way to put it is all of my world is on my shoulders. And like, it's weighing me down, but you know what? I still have to get up and fucking do it.
Some heavy shit, Atlas. I wasn't prepared. My eyes were melting. I don't know. I don't handle responsibility well. I'm a 30-year-old. For 10 years, just running the other direction from responsibility. Bills? What are those? Who cares?
Oh, God. Don't get me started on bills.
How many credit card companies are calling me right now? A bunch. Bet more than you.
Well, none are calling me, so absolutely.
Yeah, that's okay. But no, it was weird because it snowballed. It completely snowballed. For a second, it was a 2-hour episode. And then after that, it became a 12-hour episode. And then suddenly it'd been 3 days since I talked to any of my friends. And now it's 9 days into a completely hermetized event where I have basically turned my phone off and gone off the grid. Like, what's Facebook? I had my sister calling me going, hey, you're not putting out episodes. I had fans calling other fans of this show saying, hey, have you heard a new episode? Did you get, is my phone working all right? So it turns out I bummed a few people out. Some of the people that it didn't seem to bum out too much are our San Jose crowd. Don't know why so many people in San Jose are listening to us, but props to them. 10th largest city in the U.S.
We absolutely appreciate you.
Yeah, no, you guys are breaking records as far as viewership per city. I'm hoping that your sunny disposition out there is allowing you not to ostracize the fuck out. Because here in the Midwest, it is very easy for me to bury my head in the sand. And we don't have a lot of sand. I gotta find a beach. I had to crawl out of it, though. Like, you have to take some personal account. Like, you don't just, like, stop talking to your friends. And when you do, you got to get out of it. Like, it's so difficult to push yourself to do the right thing, in my opinion. It's hard for me to push myself to do the right thing a lot of the time. It's very difficult. And when I do, I don't get nearly the self-satisfaction that I should. It's like I'm not allowing myself to feel good about that. I don't know. I hope you guys feel good out there. This is supposed to be a feel-good show. And somehow we managed to pick the one topic that I hoped going into it wasn't going to be like, oh, they're talking about mental health. Like, this is going to be great. Awesome. I'm really looking forward to it. Like, so am I, guys.
No, well, it's not necessarily that this is so. I understand that we try to do the comedy aspect. We try to have the like poke fun at everything, and this is absolutely one of those times where we're absolutely going to poke fun at this shit.
Oh yeah,
but
no, I'm a crazy person for sure.
Let's say, but with that big butt.
That ass.
Sir Mix-a-Lot, you know.
I like big butts, Fred. What do you got? What is this butt all about? What's the cellulose count here?
Well, no, fuck off. Mental health is very much and absolutely something that needs to be discussed, especially within this nation, not only with what's been going on lately, but also just in general. I mean, like going on recently is in the recent like mass shootings and whatnot, which we're briefly like we're glancing off.
We're gonna skim that because
we're touching that, but we're not like
because
diving
we believe that there is an impact. There's a correlation between mental health and mass violence.
Yes, but that's simply where we're going.
Or as we're talking about here.
But with that, like, I also think that mental health is something that we all need to discuss, like, because it's not just depression, it's social anxiety, it's it's OCD, it's like some people it's the like OCD of like, oh well, I have to be perfect about this, or for some people it's the I have to wash my hands 6 times before I can leave the bathroom.
One of my sister's strangest OCD type aspects is that she can't let her food touch on a plate.
They make something for that now.
Of course they do. Because we can't just like cope. No.
Well,
we have to invent something to help us with our neuroses. That's awesome. That's great.
Oh, absolutely.
I did find on eBay while I was totally like ostracizing everybody that there are head buckets where you can shove your whole head in with sand all around them. They've developed them. So if you're out there looking for a coping mechanism, a bucket of head sand really helps. I go see a therapist weekly. It's something that I have to do. It's not something that I'm mandated to do by anybody other than myself. But it helps to just get all this shit off my chest to somebody who so what if I'm paying them to listen? But it sounds like they care. They act like they care. It's good enough, I guess.
So, okay, if I may, real quick, I've actually been to see a therapist, or not necessarily a therapist, a counselor. Which
what?
Oh, I know, right? Like it's a travesty. Which unfortunately, especially within the military, they like to make it look like it's like you're going to end your career by going to mental health and shit like that. Which, FYI, for anybody fucking out there, if your leadership tells you that you're going to end your career by fucking going to mental health, tell them to go fuck themselves. I mean, not literally, but like, Roger that, sir, whatever the fuck you want to say, and go to fucking mental health. Get your shit squared away. Because, like, granted, my like the counselor I went to see was a civilian. Like, so like she had seen like different military members, but she was a civilian.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was a different perspective. But like, absolutely, I am 100% in the regard of, like, if you have shit going on in your life, like for me as a military member, if you have shit going on in your life, go see a fucking counselor, a therapist,
military member or not.
Somebody.
If you think that you need help, seek it.
Oh, absolutely.
I would like to give a shout out to, we're going to mention 3 different organizations during this episode. This is going to be the first of 3 sort of shout outs. These are not paid sponsorships. These aren't even sponsorships. These organizations have no idea that we did this. We did this out of the fact that we believe in what they do, and we think that they're very important resources. So if you think that for whatever reason you're feeling suicidal, call 1-800-273-TALK. That's 1-800-273-8255. That's the suicide prevention hotline. That's national in the United States. Any of the 50 states, please call. I've called them numerous times. Not because I was necessarily feeling suicidal, but because I wanted somebody to talk to. And it was 3 o'clock in the morning, and who the fuck do I know that's going to answer their phone? You're in a hyper anxious moment. You're feeling incredibly manic. It's important to utilize these resources. I have done it. It's helped 1,000 times. It feels like 1,000 times. It's probably been less times than I can count on 2 hands. But it's incredibly important that you utilize these resources. I genuinely believe that most lives are worth just about anything, man. Like, no matter who you are as a human being. I've encountered some really rat people, disgusting, like foes almost. And I wouldn't for a second wish them to like have less life or like time on this earth. Do you get what I mean? Like, even in my darkest moments, even in the most hated moments, I've never wished somebody to off themselves. That's like the most evil thing that you can do to another human being. I may have jokingly said, like, I wish Hillary Duff would kill herself. That's not necessarily serious.
She is a treasure. How dare you?
Hillary Duff's a national treasure.
I didn't say national treasure. I said she was a treasure. I said she was a treasure, not a national treasure. Treasure.
I like that brunette chick from Lizzie McGuire. She was always the hotness.
I didn't have cable growing up.
Some people go to therapy for different reasons. But I never got to see the season finale of SpongeBob.
There's not a season finale.
There isn't?
I don't know. Fuck.
Why isn't there? That show can't still be on. It's got to be the longest running children's show in history.
It is. It's been on for almost 30 years.
If putting SpongeBob is what helps you cope with mental health, we don't want to think that you can't do that. I'm not shitting on people who love SpongeBob, okay? I'm just saying that sponges are nice to wipe my ass with.
Rude ass. If I may. Interrupting fucking cow.
You can only tune.
I can only what? Tune?
No, you said if you may. I said you can only June.
You know what? Fuck it.
That's a September. We're not even doing that.
But no, like, so for me, like going to a counselor, granted, it was like there were some very real things I needed to talk about, but like sometimes it's just
Your obsession with porcupines,
getting to talk to somebody.
your love of the taste of pine cones.
I've actually what?
I know, man. Wizards are weird. I don't know a lot of wizards. I just assume they got weird ass problems. Sometimes people love pine cones.
I'm gonna light your tail on fire.
I'm basically a flightless bird now because I'm not allowed to leave. Fred got really
Clip
pissed
your
when I
wings.
didn't fucking call him for 3 weeks, so now I'm just in a crate, and he has a microphone that he like drops through the crate, and sometimes other birds come and feed me. But other than that, it's pretty sad. Maybe I'll get out someday.
It puts the lotion on its feathers, or it gets the hose again.
I wish we could make a way, like find a way to make that rhyme. That's
I know.
the only part that I was like bummed out about when I heard that. I was like, oh, I could have soft feathers, but I can't hear poetry.
Fuck you.
Sweet, delectable poetry. I have found that reading poetry helps. I have a copy of the Tao, which is I would call it a religious text. Some people it's not. But I read that sometimes, and it just like mellows me out. I've taken to evening constitutionals in my real life when I'm not a bird.
So when we're not in the 1920s, for those of you who don't know, an evening constitutional is when after eating dinner you go for a walk.
Yup.
Because
right.
Condor is the only one that lives in the 1920s because he's apparently fucking immortal.
I have a monocle to go with this bird outfit. God damn it! I am the only bird on my block with a monocle too. It is hotness. If you guys try to picture what we look like, I hope that you're as confused as we are.
All fucking wizard.
And if we do more damage to your mental health, then we're sorry. You can turn this episode off. Seek professional help. What kind of mental health issues do you experience as an individual, Fred?
So for me, it's not necessarily always it's not me, if that makes any sense. Like, I mean, I do experience some like you
have somebody close to you that experiences mental dips and hues and drops and highs and
yes. So my wife is actually diagnosed with depression, social anxiety, borderline OCD, like kind of you throw the book at her and it kind of sticks. But and so there are days where it's hard for her to get out of bed.
Ursula's last name is DSM-4 or 5, whichever one they're on now.
What?
It's the diagnostic tool for mental health. Go ahead.
Okay. But like it's like there are days where like even though she got a fucking like full night of sleep, she's exhausted when she wakes up in the morning. Like it's hard for her to actually get out of bed.
I can relate to that.
Or like there are social situations where it's like hey, I don't know. Like, can we not?
Yep.
Like let me find a way to like not make this about me, but like we're gonna scoot on out. Which
hey Fred, don't you have to be up early in the morning?
Fortunately not tomorrow, yeah. But
right, yeah. Let's find an excuse that isn't me to get the hell out.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I mean, it's not necessarily like, it's not even necessarily it's late thing. It could be just a like, so one of the ones that stuck out to me is like, I've been to Disneyland. One of the rides we went to was Pirates of the Caribbean. And one of their rides, you like, as you're in the queue for it, like the line for it, you're in like a set, like you're in like a sewer section. It feels like a sewer, like under a bridge type section.
You're in a tube. A tunnel.
Essentially. And there's so many people around you, and it's just such a crowded, claustrophobic area. And there wasn't a whole lot of air movement. And so my wife just like looked at me and she's like, I picked up my daughter. I was holding on to my daughter, like okay, it's okay. You don't need, like, essentially, so she wouldn't see mom freaking out. Like, I was using that coping mechanism of like but I had full on like eye contact with my wife, like I'm here, you're fine. Like, these people are like, I have our daughter, nobody's going to take her. Like, cause those are all very much things that go on in her head that I already know about.
Right.
Because
Irrational
irrational
calculations of the moment.
Yes. And like, because we've been together for 8 years. And so like, I understand her, I understand her mental health issues to the
Right.
point
And
where
you get how her mind works. You can put two and two together before she gets four.
Yeah. Like, and well, exactly. Like I'll even see the like small little signals that she has that she doesn't even, like, the subconscious things that
the
she
micro
has.
ticks, the gives,
Yeah.
what do you call that when somebody's bluffing and they give it away? It's a
tell.
Yeah, her tells.
Yeah. I know her tells and her, like, those things before she even realizes, like, fuck, this is going on. And so like, I'll be able to, like, okay, like, whether it's for her, it's the like, okay, I need to go, she goes through her 5 senses of like, here's something I can touch, here's something I can hear, here's something I can smell, here's something I can see, like, and so like, and that's her way of grounding herself back to, okay, this is where
perceptive
I'm at.
Distraction from the anxious moment she's in.
Exactly.
No, I get it.
And so like, with being in Pirates of the Caribbean, like, in that moment, she's freaking out, but like, I know that 3 feet in front of her, there's an air vent that's going to solve all of our problems. We just need to have it so that the next like group of people load onto the ride so that we
can. You just need to make it 30 seconds before the line inches another 5 feet.
Yeah. And we ended up making that. And like, immediately she was like, okay, life is not going to end. Nobody's trying to take my child. The room is not closing in. And it was a much better, like, she immediately was like, okay, I'm good.
Right, but that's a great example of a real life moment that was triggered by an event that wasn't malignant. It wasn't intentional. She was in line for a ride. How do you anticipate having a negative reaction to a given situation like that? Nobody in their right mind would go, okay, I freak out during small tunnels and I have a funny feeling there is one, so I'm not going to go on. Like, that's not. And if you're that sort of paranoid, I almost feel bad for you because I get it.
Yeah, in reality, there are people who are like that, and it's unfortunate that, you know, they're not being able to have those experiences and stuff like that. And I feel for you, I really do, because I don't necessarily experience those things, but like, I've seen it through my wife. I've seen the panic in her eyes. Like, it's something that, and I feel so bad for you guys. Like, not necessarily in like like, poor you type that. Like, I mean, okay, to an extent, poor you, but but not like.
You only get so much of our sympathy here in Talking Chaos. God damn it!
not even necessarily that. Like, not necessarily any like, I feel bad for you in the respect of like, oh, well, you need to feel more depressed about this. But you have my sympathy in the regard that this isn't something you can control, and it's something that you have to experience.
Yeah, no, it's I've never felt quite that out of control. Given a moment, and to think about what other people experience, the fear that you must experience in these given moments, like I don't know if I could handle that as an individual. That would be so much, and I find myself understanding why people would choose to make some of the decisions that they do in regard to mercifully taking themselves out of the equation, so to speak. I don't believe that that's a solution that we should like start at, but like, I understand it's a solution, however effective.
But anywho, like, I'm personally not in the regard of like, for me personally, suicide isn't an option. Like,
Yeah, me neither. I don't
the-
have the constitution for it. There was a time in
well,
my life when I gave it far too much thought, and I think healthy minds occasionally glance the idea. I don't think that like healthy people never think about suicide. That's dumb.
oh, absolutely. I've thought about it.
Yeah, and you're not dead. And if you are, like, this is terrifying. Ghost stories with talking chaos. Condor talks to dead people. Right.
But
I'd
no,
prefer
like,
if that's not what this show was.
yeah. But no, for me, it's more the like I would prefer it if everyone believed that suicide was not the option. I understand that's not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily the case, but like is always like there's always somebody out there who loves you. There's always somebody out there who actually gives a fuck about what happens to you.
Well, and the other part is there's always somebody out there that's got it worse than you do.
Well, and I mean,
Whoever you are.
if you want to go that route, sure.
I mean, I'm a
realist, but
kind of. I mean, I try to be an optimistic dude, but occasionally I find myself having an engineer's mindset when it comes to the glass half full, half empty argument.
bourbon.
It's not a matter of whether or not the glass is half full. It's a matter of whether or not the glass was manufactured to the right specifications. That's how I think.
So do you have we're considering that you have had the 3-week break that you have, I'm assuming that you have some personal experience that you'd like to or
well,
hopefully
apart from the obvious
share.
one, but there's a ton of like anxious moments I can remember having. And one of the most perplexing was when I was in 7th grade. I started to experience gray vision, is what I called it. But I could physically see tunnel vision starting to occur.
Okay.
Some people have told me that it was like I experienced rapid glaucoma.
Interesting.
My peripheral vision became grayer and my vision narrowed. And the way that this gray took on was like the white fuzz on a television screen. Like I couldn't see anything. It was fuzz. And finally it got to a point where I could only see what was directly in front of my eyes. So I had to constantly keep moving them to kind of process my surroundings. This took place over the course of like 2 hours. But it happened in a literature classroom. And I began to cry because I panicked. Because I thought I was going blind.
Shit.
Sarah Reith. We went to school with her. You know that name?
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm outing somebody publicly, but she comforted me. Rubbed my back. She sat behind me in a literature class. And as I bawled my eyes and completely distracted the class from whatever lesson was being taught that day, she tried to console me. And it got so bad, eventually I went to the principal's office. I called my mom. I tried to explain what was going on. Confused the fuck out of everybody because nobody knew. And eventually I had to walk home by myself with my, like what I would say, seriously impaired vision.
Jesus.
I made it home, and the next day I was fine. Vision was perfectly fine. I wouldn't say perfectly fine. I've had glasses basically since I was in elementary school. But I could fucking see. So I call that a win.
Heyo.
But it was the most panic that I've ever felt in my life. And I've experienced a lot of weird things that cause panic. But the kindness of this stranger who I didn't really know, we went to elementary school together. We weren't friends. We weren't in the same social circles. But the fact that she just didn't want me crying. She felt so bad for me. It meant a lot. It meant a lot. And it's weird, one of those weird moments where, like, I'll see her and I'll remember that. I've seen her a lot lately. It's weird. Small town. What happens?
It happens. But in that regard, like, even if you're not the person experiencing the depression or the anxiety or something like that, you can always be the person to help out, to reach out.
Yeah, there are signs. We all kind of know them. Some of us know them. But like if you have a friend that calls you regularly that just stopped calling you, bug them. Show up at their house. Explain to them, yeah, I see the looks that you're shooting me right now. We record these episodes with video. You guys will never get to see them. I'm sorry. There's nothing we can do about that. But you should have just seen the look that Fred shot me. I know I said that you guys would never see him, and then I referenced a look you'll never get to see. So ultra teaser. It's an Easter egg.
So, one thing that I'd like to brush on again with the going back to the military thing, like there's a branch that recently has come out with like an armed forces branch that came out recently and was like, hey, we're gonna have like they announced that like we've had 78 air we've had 78 people like members kill themselves this year alone. Last year was 72. The year before that was 78, or not 78, but 70 or 64, 64. So like it's been slowly increasing. And so like from top down, like leadership out at like at the Pentagon, DOD like level are saying, what can we do to change this? What can we do to like not like, cause they're seeing more of the like, okay, like the government structured like suicide prevention isn't working. What can we do to fix this?
Yeah,
And
the resources that we have are not enough.
yeah, are not enough, or it's that like, and so one of the Facebook pages that I follow, it's like it also includes fans like or follower submissions, and like they'll post them out and like, hey, I'm so like low ranking person, so and like Snuffy, like, and I've experienced this, and like my supervisor like either didn't give a fuck, didn't answer their phone, or like I went to the ER because I was having suicidal thoughts and like was debating like actually killing myself, went to the ER because like, hey, I needed some help and nobody was like talking to me, nobody decided to respond. And like it's come to the point of like their supervisor like roger that, have like roger that, like that was the response, was like there was like no response was a better response than what they got.
Right. I hear you is not enough.
Yes,
It's three words.
yeah, I hear you, or like roger that, or whatever the fuck you want to put it as. And then like their commander was like didn't visit them in the hospital. Their the enlisted liaison between the between that member and the commander, it's called the first sergeant. It's
I get it.
I don't know about the Navy, but I know that Army Air Force has it. But
it's
like,
a title.
Yeah, it's a title called the first sergeant. That it's kind of a liaison between like the lower enlisted, or mostly the enlisted people, and the commander, of like, you can get the commander's ear this way. Like, hey, I have some issue going on. Let me talk to the first sergeant about it.
Right.
And like commander didn't show up, first sergeant didn't show up. Nobody like it. He's like, nobody gave a fuck. And so like like for these people, it's significantly discouraging.
Yeah, it amplifies this feeling of abandonment and disassociation from the social, I don't know, norms.
Yeah. And so,
grids,
and like, I mean,
webs that they previously set up in their lives.
And I mean, not only with that, but like we have the statistics of 22 a day of the like 22 veterans or active duty members kill themselves each day.
Yeah, and that's all branches.
That's all branches, like wide, like whether it be like, again, active duty or veteran.
What are the? Can we pull up the statistics for what national statistics are for suicide rates a day?
I can see if I can try and find it. But
right.
But if I may, diverting back to the veteran and whatnot, like,
I'll see if I can find it while you're talking. Go ahead.
All right. So, with that, like for the brothers and sisters out there, we have the Veterans Crisis Line, which is 1-800-273-8255, with option 1 being the selected designation. Or you can text any message to 838-255, and you will get in contact with someone. just don't feel like you're alone out there.
On average, there are 123 suicides a day in America.
Which is ridiculous.
The annual age-adjusted suicide rate is 13.42 per 100,000 individuals. Men die by suicide 3.53 times more often than women. If you want help, we've listed 2 ways to find it, depending on what you're seeking. I think we had a third in mind, Fred. What was the third one?
The third one, which so I know that it isn't necessarily suicide related, but it is it is something
absolutely mental health related.
Oh, absolutely. It is the sexual assault hotline, and which a lot of people, or specifically victims of sexual assault, tend to end up going to suicide as their option out. But so like for the suicide or for the sexual assault hotline, it is 1-775-221-7600, or you can text SASS to 839-863.
And normal text rates will apply. I'm just going to say that for the sake of, like, if you don't know that going into it, then I don't know if you have ever done this before. But I don't want you to, like, get your bill and be like, what? It costs money to text them? Yeah, it costs money to text anybody. Unless you're doing it on a free service somehow, which I power to you. Like we said, we're going to have more episodes coming up. We're going to try a new format. We're going to have publicly trimmed episodes that are going to be about 20 to 30 minutes. If you want to see the full bush, which will be unedited, uncut.
Behind the scenes.
Yep. Kind of bloopery. This is the full thing. Go to our Patreon at Talking Chaos Podcast, or patreon.com/Talking Chaos. We can be found on Reddit. We seriously encourage people to engage in our Reddit. Right now we have like 0 engagement.
We have 3 followers, and they're us and our social media coordinator. But you can find us at Talking Chaos Podcast. Just search
subreddit.
It on Reddit. Yep.
Talking Chaos Podcast. Our logo's on there. It matches the logo from the podcast. What are we doing?
Find us on Facebook.
We did recently launch a new Patreon tier, didn't we?
I believe so.
$25 tier.
The $25 tier, which with that you get three shirts annually, I believe.
Yep, 3 shirts annually.
Yeah, provided that you have no blemishes in the $25 a month like category. Like it's 3 T-shirts from our store that we currently have out.
Right. For every 4 months you go blemish free, we send you a shirt.
Hey yo.
As long as you're spending $25 or more. There's only 10 of those available. They are limited. There is an offer for bonus stuff. Go check it out. We encourage it. I don't know if you catch that based on the fact that we're shilling so hard. But we're heavily encouraging it.
But as always, this content is literally driven by our patrons. We can't do this without them. Like we literally can't. We're trying to pay bills as far as like putting it on YouTube and putting it on like video conversion versus to Facebook and YouTube and whatnot. So we're literally using the money to actually put it back into the podcast.
Absolutely. If you what was the other thing I was thinking of? I completely blanked. Oh, if you have Apple, right? Apple. People like Apple, Facebook, and all that. That's not right. FaceTime was the one that I was thinking. If you have Apple, please go to Apple Podcasts. Give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. We're really seeking reviews. If Google is your thing, give us 5 stars. We'd love that. That'd be awesome. Rate us and review us. Let us know what you want. We're always looking for advice from our listeners. Shout out to San Jose, by the way. I don't know why, but you guys are listening a fool up there. If you guys have some suggestions, go to all of our stuff. Check us out. Send us a message. This has been Talking Chaos. And
we appreciate you.
So thankful for our patrons. You guys make our day. Every time I get to pay our bills with your guys' money, you have no idea how satisfying that is. If you guys want to help us pay more bills, go to our Patreon. This has been another episode of Talking Chaos. And if you would really like it, if the Condor did not fly the coop next week, please subscribe to our channel. Check us out on YouTube, Facebook. Tell us not to run away again. Or me. It's me. It's all me. It's my fault. Okay, we're done.